Well, hello and welcome to another edition of Health Solutions with Shawn and Janet Needham, where Team Needham discusses everything healthcare. I'm your host, Shawn Needham, and I am hosting live from Team Needham Abode today. And I'm super excited to be talking about one of the things that we talk about very, very commonly is the 3 keys to great health. And there's no magic, there's no biohacks, there's no super easy pill to swallow. But it's really 3 simple things, and you don't have to really buy any of them necessarily. So you do have to invest in them, and that can include buying some things. But what are the 3 keys to health? It's really simple. There are really 3 things. Excuse me. There are really 3 things that you can do to have a healthy body, physically and mentally. And we were all designed this way. Sleep, diet, and exercise. And I say them in that order because those are the orders of importance. Sleep trumps it all. Excuse me. If you are not sleeping, you are not going to be recovering. You are not going to be healthy. And sleep also means that we should have that we're diurnal. So humans are diurnal creatures. What does that mean? You probably heard of nocturnal. Like certain animals are nocturnal, like raccoons are nocturnal and bats are nocturnal. That's at night. Nocturne means night. Diurnal means during the day. So we are diurnal creatures. We're supposed to be active during the day and sleeping at night. And that is how we will have optimal health. So for any of you guys working shift work, especially nights, whether you're police officers or nurses or pharmacists that work nights or what have you, that's not the best thing for your health. So if your health is suffering, I suggest that you change shifts. And I get it. When you're younger, sometimes that's all you can do. But I commonly get people in my office, middle-aged women, a lot of nurses that we talk to. They've been working night shifts for 20 plus years, and they're in horrible health. And it doesn't matter what hormones you take. It doesn't matter how you exercise. It doesn't matter how you eat. The first thing you need to do is you need to change your shift. Don't be working nights if your health is suffering. And if you do work nights, your health is going to suffer. There's just no doubt about it. And I know that there's some people that will say, oh, well, I thrive on nights, and I work better at night and sleep better during the day. That's just absolutely not true. We're biologically not wired to do that. So that's just not the case. So if your health is suffering and you are working night shift, or even, sometimes people can't, as you get older, it's harder to handle swing shift, especially, which, you work till midnight or whatever, especially if you're rotating a lot of shifts where, one day you'll work day shift and it starts at 6, and, the next week you'll do a week of those, and the next week you'll do a week of swing shifts where you get off at midnight, and your body just doesn't adapt very well that way. And that being said, when I mean sleep, I think one of the most important things to get regular sleep is to go to bed consistently and regularly at the same time. So, and I think within, 1 hour or so of each other, even on weekends. Some people say, well, on weekends I go to bed a little bit later. That's fine. But if you, are regularly sleeping, going to bed at 10 o'clock on a weekday and getting up at 6, then on a weekend, I don't think you should go to bed much later than 11, and get up same time every morning too. Just get into that regular routine. And how much sleep does everybody need? Well, I know there's a lot of people that love to brag about how little sleep they get, and I can survive on 5 hours or 6 hours. And I've seen a lot of those people, and they don't look healthy. I don't think it's good to brag about how little sleep you need. I think that we are, wired to get 8 to 9 hours of sleep a night. Now, that's not always uninterrupted. But as much interrupted as it can be is important, and and do that consistently every night. So What are some things that interrupt sleep? Caffeine, you guys are all probably familiar with caffeine. Caffeine is a stimulant. Um, Many people will tell you, most people will tell you, and it's a good idea that you probably shouldn't drink anything caffeinated later in the day in the afternoon. So nothing after 4 p.m. caffeine. Some people even are more sensitive than that, and they can't have anything caffeinated afternoon. So um, I love coffee. My wife loves coffee. We drink coffee regularly right before bed, and it does not affect us. And there's many people that say, well, you don't know it doesn't affect you. And it's like, no, we sleep like babies. Um, so it doesn't affect us. But if you are drinking caffeinated products later in the evening, realize that it can interrupt your sleep because it's a stimulant, so it keeps us awake. What's another thing that interrupts our sleep? This is one that a lot of people want to deny, and it's alcohol. And some people will say, well, I sleep so much better when I have 1 to 2 glasses of wine a night or 1 to 2 beers a night. It's like, and let's remember, when people say that they have 1 or 2, that means you got to double it. So that means they've had 2 to 4. And let's remember that, a beer anymore is not 12 ounces like it used to be. I mean, a beer is 22 ounces. When you go out to a restaurant, they ask if you want a beer. That's, well, do you want a 16 ounce or a 22 ounce? Like, seriously, 22 ounce? That's a beer. That's 2 beers. So just realize that. But there's a lot of people that say, well, I sleep better with a couple drinks a night. Okay, that's fine that you say that, because alcohol is a CNS depressant. What does that mean? Central nervous system, which is basically our brain, our spinal cord, that our body is wired, that does pretty much all the things that take smart activity in our lives, or and more than that. So central nervous system. And it's one of the drugs that crosses into the central nervous system. Our central nervous system is very well protected, in the spinal cord, and stuff that things can't get inside of it. So it's hard for anything to get inside the central nervous system. But certain drugs do. Alcohol is one of them, and that's why it causes you to be drowsy, and it causes you to slur your speech, because it gets into your brain, it gets into your central nervous system. So it may be true that alcohol will help you get to sleep better at night, but I don't make very many guarantees, and I'm not even going to make a guarantee on this, because I just don't like making guarantees. But chances are it is disrupting your sleep, because here's the problem with alcohol: it wears off over time, and unlike a lot of drugs that have, they call it a half life of, they call it first order kinetics, where most every drug has a half life. Let's say it's an hour. That means every hour, half of that drug would be gone in the body. So whatever the level is, half of it would be gone in the body an hour later. Alcohol is different. And this is not a black and white issue, because everybody metabolizes it different. And there's always multiple layers of metabolism going on during the body. But alcohol causes what's called first order kinetics. So, zero order kinetics, which means that in theory, we can, no matter how much you drink, you can metabolize about 1 drink an hour. So let's say you drink 4 drinks in 1 hour, which is not that uncommon. Remember, 22 ounces of beer is 2 drinks. So um, most people can metabolize about 1 drink per hour. So let's say you did have 4 beers. You went to bed at 10. You passed out at 10, essentially, because the alcohol is affecting you. So you pass out at 10 o'clock. And then you basically had 4 beers. Remember, those two 22-ounce beers are 4 beers. Takes you 4 hours to metabolize it. And it be mostly gone from your body, but it's not completely gone. And so you wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, and your sleep is disrupted, and you can't go back to sleep. That is very, very common when you drink alcohol. So you might think that it makes you sleep better, and it might make you go to sleep better, but your sleep is going to be disrupted for sure. So unless your sleep is optimized and your health is optimized, I recommend you drink very little, for one, because alcohol is a poison. But if you're not sleeping well, realize that alcohol is probably messing up your sleep. as much as you think it's not. So that's a tip. What else for good healthy sleep? I know if you read a lot about it or do a lot of research about it, Matthew Walker has a good podcast on sleep, and he talks about depth of sleep, duration of sleep, consistency of sleep. It's the 4 pillars of sleep: consistency and then regularity. So basically, how long did you sleep at night? How deep was the sleep? How consistent was it through the night, uninterrupted? And then how regularly do you do that? How many days a week do you do that? Those are the 4 pillars of sleep per Matthew Walker. Great podcast on it. I highly recommend it. But there's some people that will, or when you research sleep, they'll talk about pets and sleep. A lot of people have cats or dogs that they sleep with, and yes, I'm not gonna lie. Pets are definitely interrupted to your sleep. You may or may not know that, but they do. They interrupt your sleep. We have a cat, and we used to have 2 cats, and one of the cats passed away. And when that one cat passed away, our cat refused to sleep. The cat that was alive refused to sleep in the laundry room where we kept our cats anymore. So she would just make noise, and so now she sleeps with us. And every night, she does wake up early in the morning, like cats do, because they're nocturnal hunters, early morning hunters at least. When they get up and chase the mice at usually 2 to 4 in the morning, that's when the mice are active, because mice are nocturnal. Cats will get up, and so every morning our cat does get up, but we deal with that, and we still get mostly uninterrupted sleep. So I'm not willing to give that up. We like our cat, and we want her to be happy. She's a domestic pet, and we think that we're, our job is to take care of her, and she's happier when she sleeps with us. So we go ahead, and even though that rule is true that animals can interrupt your sleep, we realize that we get enough regularly good recovery and sleep that we're not worried about the cat. So what else? Lights in your bedroom. As much light as you can black out, do it. So blackout curtains. I know when we go to hotels, some of the alarm clocks are super, super bright. So, cover the alarm clock up. There's certain things in your bedroom that can also put out light. Anything that can put out light, cover it up. It can be very, very distracting. Blue light's the worst, but any kind of light, just make it as dark as you can in your room, and it will definitely help you sleep for sure. Let's see what else. I get this one often, and usually this is not when the topic of sleep comes up, but it's a topic of maybe intimacy and sleeping with a partner. So, do you sleep with your spouse? Do you sleep in a different bedroom? Do you sleep in the same bed? And there's lots of research out there to show that you will have better sleep if you sleep by yourself, because a partner can be disruptive to your sleep. Here's what I have to say about that. First of all, I think if we're married, I think we should be sleeping in the same bed. That's my opinion, for many reasons. But I like to touch my wife at night. For one, I like to know that she's there. So when I'm in a hotel sleeping on the road, I never sleep as good, which you never sleep as good in a hotel bed, no matter what. So I personally like to sleep with my wife. Does it wake me up? It might, but it definitely helps me go to sleep better. Here's one of the things too. The people that say that they can't sleep with their spouses, it's probably because one of their spouses has bad sleep habits. But if you both have good sleep habits and you sleep well, why can't you sleep all night together and have pretty much uninterrupted sleep? And that's my opinion about that part. So it's just whatever works for you. But I will say that I love sleeping with my spouse. I like touching my spouse all night long, knowing that she's there. So that's my 2 cents on that. And let's see. So that's one. That's the first thing you can do to stay healthy, is sleep. And it like I said, it trumps everything. Okay. What's the second thing you can do to stay healthy? Nothing fancy. No cold plunges. No red light saunas. I'm not saying those are bad. I'm just saying that none of these biohack techniques, no peptides, nothing like that. No fancy stuff to help your health. It's diet, and sleep is first, and diet is second. And what do I mean by diet? I mean what we eat and consume every day, put in our mouths every day. That's what our diet is. I don't, traditionally diet has some bad um, connotation, just because we think of diet, we think you're losing weight, but it's really that's not true. We're all on a diet. We all have a diet. Some of us have a worse diet than others, but some of us have a better diet. So, what are some tips on a good healthy diet? Again, it does not have to be complicated, and there's so many fad diets out there. I'm just going to call them fads. I'm not going to call them, I'm not going to say they're bad or good necessarily, but some fad diets. I don't, and maybe they're not fad, because some of them aren't fad because we've been following it as people for thousands of years. But there's a carnivore diet out there, Mediterranean diet. There's a keto diet. I mean, the list goes on of what diets there are out there. The vegan diet. And then there's a SAD. If you guys haven't heard of that, that's a standard American diet. That's one of the diets you definitely want to stay away from. What's a standard American diet? Well, standard American diet is basically we eat processed foods. And what are processed foods? Well, that is a broad definition for sure. Because even if you eat beef, unless if you eat mostly beef, let's say you're a carnivore, mostly carnivore, and you eat mostly beef, unless you went out and you killed that cow yourself and you processed the cow yourself, you butchered it and packed it all up. Unless you did that, which most of us don't, then you eat processed foods. Okay. So what do I mean by stay away from processed foods then? Because obviously processing, eating beef is good. So when I mean processed foods, I mean basically if it comes in a box, it is processed. So if you can read, on the package and it has, ingredient lists and all that kind of stuff, it's probably a processed food. And think about that. When you buy a head of lettuce, does a head of lettuce have ingredients on it, or how many calories it is? Or when you buy apples, does that, no. When you buy a bag of potatoes, does that? No. When you buy a beef at the store, which we don't buy beef at the store, we buy it from a butcher, but a local farmer, does it have the calories on there? I mean, it does a lot of times. But if you buy it in the one from the butcher section, they usually don't. So that's non-processed stuff. So stuff that doesn't have an ingredient list listed on it, and the number of calories and servings and all that. So stay away from processed stuff. Okay, here's another tip. If it doesn't rot, don't eat it. Okay, so think about that box of let's just say a TV dinner. Do they rot? No, they stay in the freezer for years and years and years at a time. So that's probably not something good to eat. So what if you took a steak? And I'm not sure about TV dinner. If you took a TV dinner out and you thawed it and left it uncovered, would it eventually rot? Maybe eventually, but my guess is there's tons of preservatives in there, and it's not gonna rot very fast. Now, what is rotting? Rotting is literally when mold grows on something, so a fungus or bacteria, and those, I mean, that's how mold, fungi, and bacteria survive, is they eat other things, right? They grow on other things, and that's what they consume. Um, well, so if they're not able to, if there's preservatives, that kill off bacteria and fungus, because that's literally what preservatives do. They prevent mold, mold and fungus, which are in the same category, um, and bacteria from growing on something. And that's what the preservatives do. And they would prevent like protozoa and stuff too, which is in a different kingdom. But um, so if mold and bacteria cannot grow on this stuff, how good is it going to be for us? Can we assimilate it as nutrients? Probably not, or not very well. So if it doesn't rot, don't eat it. That's a good tip. And that's just also a tip that if you do that, you're eating mostly whole foods. So does that mean that you can eat bread? Yeah, it does. Because bread will rot, it will mold, right? Most breads, not all breads, because they have so much preservatives in them. Ezekiel is a great one, but you have to put it in the freezer, because if you don't put Ezekiel bread in the freezer, if you leave it out at room temperature for one day, it'll start molding. Maybe I'm exaggerating one day, maybe, but you look back in history when, our parents and our grandparents baked bread. When they baked that bread from scratch, I mean, if you left it out for a few days, of course, it never lasted more than a day. For one, they were small loaves and you're feeding a big family. Um, but it molded within a few days because there was no preservatives in it. So just realize that. So, and I don't necessarily think bread is, carbs get such a bad rap. I don't necessarily think bread is what's killing us. Should you eat a loaf of bread every day? No. But I don't think that's what the problem is. I mean, humans have survived on leavened bread for thousands of years without any problems. It wasn't until the last 50, 60 years that we've started having problems. And that's just because we have access to too much of it, in my opinion. So what are some other tips? If it doesn't rot, don't eat it. Don't drink your calories. What does that mean? It literally means don't drink your calories. So we talked about alcohol already disrupting your sleep. There's just another reason to not drink alcohol. It has calories in it. Not only is it a poison, but it has calories in it. So, and it's just empty calories. A beer, a 12-ounce beer, I believe most of them have about 150 calories. Think about that. So if you drink those 4 beers a day, because remember, 22-ounce beers is 4 beers a day, you are drinking 450 calories. Just empty. Let's see. No, I'm sorry, you're drinking 600 if you drink 4 beers. You're drinking 600 calories a day, empty calories, okay? 600 calories in just beer alone. Most sedentary Americans need about 1,200 calories a day to sustain themselves. So if you're drinking those 2 big beers a day, half your calories are going to beer. So now you only have 600 calories to as a margin. You better use them wisely or just not drink. Same thing with soda. Most sodas have about 112-ounce can of Coke or Pepsi have about 150 calories in them. So, but remember, nobody drinks a 12-ounce can anymore. They all drink a 20, what do they come in? 20-ounce bottles or whatever. You drink a few of those a day. So if you're drinking the caloric ones, then you're consuming 600 or so calories of just soda. Same thing as the alcohol. Now you only have, if you're sedentary, you only have 600 calories to left to burn. And remember, calories are, even though I think for weight loss, calories in, calories out, I believe that's kind of true, but it's a lot easier to make your calories when you eat good, healthy foods. It's just a lot easier to eat less calories. So another thing about drinking your calories, smoothies. There's many people, this craze of smoothies and what's that one thing called, like the juicing diet and stuff. And I'm not saying they're necessarily a bad diet. I mean, because here's one of the things, whether it's, no matter what diet we talk about, going back to the SAD diet, the standard American diet, if you change to a juicing diet or a vegan diet or a carnivore diet, you change any diet other than the SAD diet, sure, you're going to lose weight and be healthier because you're eating like crap in the first place. So, but don't say it's a diet that just miraculously saved it. It's like you're eating a bad diet in the first place. So, smoothies, I don't like them because people think they're so healthy, and they'll you'll talk to women that are having a problem losing weight, and you'll go through their daily routine. Well, how do you start your routine? Well, I start it really good. I eat healthy. I eat a smoothie every morning for breakfast. Oh, okay. What do you put in that smoothie? Well, I mean, all healthy stuff. So I put some chia seeds in there. I put a scoop of whey protein in there because, I want to maximize my protein. And I put some Greek yogurt in there because Greek yogurt is good. I put a scoop of peanut butter in there. And then I put an apple, and then I put a banana, and I put some berries in there. And then I put some kale in there. And I'm like, okay, great. You're only up to about 600 calories now just in drinking a smoothie, and I'm being conservative, probably. That's one of the problems with drinking your calories, especially, I shouldn't say especially, but kind of especially in smoothies, because you can load a smoothie up with stuff. Think about that. You can crush a banana, you blend a banana up, you blend an apple up, you blend those berries up, you blend all this stuff up. It's easy to drink it. But how many people could eat a banana and an apple in one sitting? I mean, seriously, after one apple, I'm kind of done unless I'm super hungry. So be careful with smoothies. You can really, really add a lot of calories to them. Even if it's healthy stuff going in there, because that healthy stuff ends up, the process of masticating, like chewing our food. That's actually, that's actually work, and there's some it's work in itself, and there's some um, evolutionary things to shut our intestinal system down, our hunger system down by the process of chewing. So if you just drink calories, you're not going to shut that system down. So you'll be constantly hungry. Don't drink your calories. Just remember that. Try to eat whole foods as much as possible, and don't drink your calories, and you'll be a lot better off. So the other diets: carnivore, vegan, keto. I don't think sticking strict to those are as important. I mean, unless you're really, really trying to lose weight, or you're trying to, and even that depends, because everybody's so different. I think in general, if it doesn't rot, don't eat it, and don't drink your calories, and you'll be much, much better off. And just don't eat out of a package. And you'd be surprised how much better off you can do. It's a lot less expensive. Don't buy the lie that eating healthy is expensive. That is absolutely not true. A pound of chicken is like $2.50. Most people cannot eat 1 pound of chicken. But think about what junk food is. A pack of, I don't even know, we don't buy them, but a pack of like Doritos, a big thing of Doritos, I'm guessing they're $4 or $5. And I know that most people, I included, so I don't buy them. I could eat one big bag of Doritos and not even stop. So eating healthy is not expensive. Don't buy the lie. And even that being said, you either pay now or you pay later. If you want your health to you want your food to get expensive and your health to get expensive, just wait until you're sick. Wait until you're really sick, when you're 50 years old and you're in a wheelchair, and then we'll see how expensive eating healthy is. Last but not least, exercise. Commonly, when Jan and I are talking to people, they'll say, well, I'd like to be healthier, and I know you guys are inspiring, and but you exercise so much, you ride your bike so much, and you guys exercise so much, and I just don't want to do that. And it's like, you know what? There's an old saying that's true no matter what. You cannot exercise your way out of a bad diet. You cannot. You absolutely cannot. I've tried before. You still have to eat a good diet no matter how much you exercise. Now, the more you exercise, maybe the worse you can eat. And when I say worse, that's a very broad term. If you're drinking liters of soda a day, you're not going to exercise your way out of that. Even if you can, caloric wise, it doesn't mean it's healthy for you. So, and there are some people that exercise a lot and they eat a crappy diet. I think usually it catches up with them. They can do that when they're younger, but usually it catches up with you. So you can't exercise your way out of a bad diet. So what should you do with exercise? I believe that we're meant to be strong and fast, okay, as humans. So kind of like the diet thing, let's think about what our ancestors did. What did our ancestors do? Did they use a microwave? Did they have freezers? Did they have refrigerators? No. So mostly they ate more whole food, straight from the garden, straight from whatever they hunted. Think about what they did. That's another reason why, if you think red meat, if people tell you red meat is bad for you, I mean, think about what our ancestors did thousands of years ago, and they thrived. So there's no way red meat can be bad for us. That's ridiculous. So what did our ancestors do? They moved all day. Excuse me. They moved all day long. So we're meant to move. They lifted things too. They lifted lighter things all day long, and then every once in a while they might lift something heavy. They didn't lift heavy all day long, So I think the more we can simulate that, the better. So we need to be fast and strong. Our ancestors had to walk to gather. They had to run to hunt at times, walk a lot to hunt, but also run at times to hunt. And there were times when they did hunt a bigger animal, they had to lift something really heavy. So I think we should simulate that. That means we should be moving all the time. Not all the time, but you get it. Because remember, I already talked about sleeping much of our time, which is important. So as strength training is very important. Most of us don't work at jobs anymore where we lift things all day long. I mean, you think about some of the jobs that guys used to do. I mean, imagine swinging a sledgehammer, pounding railroad spikes, 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's literally no gym workout that can simulate that. So as much as we try, it's difficult to simulate what some of our ancestors did. I mean, it's crazy when you think about that, and we wonder why they didn't have largely didn't have cardiovascular disease. Well, because they're moving all day, and instead of eating all day like most Americans do. And when I say that, I don't mean that in a mean way, but think about it. When we're at work, when we're driving, when we're at home, most of us have food around us, and that's another eating tip. Don't have food around you at work, then you won't eat. Don't have food in your car, then you won't eat. And at home is a little more difficult, but I know people that have been strict enough when they're really on a strict diet, they will buy their food every day and only buy what they're going to eat, and they'll have no food stored in their house. And that works for them because they want to be strict on their diet. So how can we simulate what our ancestors did exercise wise? So move. Even if you're at work, get up, set your alarm on your phone. We have these crazy fancy devices that are supposed to make our lives easier. Every hour, get up and do 10 body weight squats. Just up and down, 10 body weight squats. Stretch a little bit, just move a little bit every hour. Takes literally 15 seconds. So you can get that movement done throughout the day. I still think it's important to schedule some kind of time for, more longer movement. So whether it be a brisk walk, whether it be a bike ride, whether it be something to kind of get your heart rate up, and maybe get into a light and probably get into a light sweat. That's probably important. And I think, you should do that probably most days, but I get it. Not everybody can, or I guess it's not a priority for everybody, but most of us have time. Rather than scrolling on our phones, we should just, go for a brisk walk or jog or what have you. So incorporate that into everyday movement, into every day. And then I think you should be doing some kind of strength training. Remember, lifting heavy things, some kind of strength training at least 3 days a week. And what does that include? That might include going to the gym. It might include having your own home gym. It's not that expensive to have a home gym, depending on how fancy you want to get. If I was going to have one tool in my gym, I would have a kettlebell. I'd have probably a light one, depending on the individual, probably a 15-pound kettlebell, and then maybe a 45-pound kettlebell. And you can get a great full body workout with those two tools. That's really all you need. You can do squats, you can do deadlifts with those, one-legged deadlifts, one-legged squats. You can even do that without weight. A lot of things that you can do with body weight, push-ups. that's resistance training, that's strength training. You can do push-ups. You don't need any fancy equipment for that. Do body weight squats, but you can add some weight there. I just talk about the kettlebell. You can buy bands. There's resistance bands we have on our YouTube site, the Moses Lake Professional Pharmacy YouTube site, where this is streaming right now, by the way. We have it. We have specific band workouts. I've got a comment. You mean preserves in food don't preserve you? Comment from Carl. No, they don't. Don't you wish they increased our lifespan? So yeah, that's the deal with movement and strength training. So 3 days a week strength training. You don't need to be in the gym for 2 hours. A half hour is fine. I work out in the gym about 2 days a week, and almost all my workouts are less than a half hour. So you don't need a lot of gym time. What else? I think that really about covers it. Those are the 3 keys to great health. So sleep, diet, and exercise. Those are the 3 things in that order. Maximize the first 2 before you maximize the last one. Seriously, because you can't exercise your way out of those bad sleep or bad diet. Think about this with exercise. When we exercise, we don't get stronger. We get stronger when we sleep, when we recover. That's really when we get stronger. So if you're not sleeping, you will never get stronger. No matter how much gym time you spend, how much time you spend in the gym, you'll never get stronger. And how do we get stronger? To get stronger, we need to build muscle mass, right? Well, if that's the case, where do we get those nutrients from? We got to get them from food. So without a good diet, you'll never get stronger. And think about it. Think about if you didn't eat anything and you exercise. It's not going to work. I mean, you're going to eventually die. And we will not die without exercise. It makes us healthier, but we'll not die without it. We will die without food. And usually it takes about 3 weeks without food. Most of us, we're good at storing energy. So we would die in about 3 weeks without food, and we die in 3 days without sleep, because you go into psychosis. So that's how important to remember. That's how important those things are. We'll die without sleep before we'll die without food. So, well, my time is up. As always, we thank you for listening and watching. We stream live on Facebook. We have 3 different Facebook pages, but we also stream live on LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. We have over 2,500 educational videos on YouTube, from all kinds of subjects like this to subjects on hormones and many different things, all health related. That's why we made this podcast. And our goal of this podcast is to educate and empower individuals to take charge of their own health. And I hope you realize that goal today. So until Monday, our regularly scheduled podcast, 12:30 to 1:30 Pacific Standard Time. Tune in then. I'm not sure who our guest is, but it's going to be a great one. And as always, thank you for listening to Health Solutions with Shawn and Janet Needham. Thank you.